Now, Milton Keynes Council has been forced to review the care it provides for hundreds of people following a damning report from the local government ombudsman. The council was made to check its practices after the watchdog found it was wrong to reduce the care of a man with Huntington's disease. Sarah Baker, his ex-wife, joins me on the line now. Good morning to you.
Hello there. Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. How long has Roy had Huntington's, and what care did he initially have?
He was diagnosed in 2006 by genetic testing, and he started getting care pretty much straight away under the mental health team at Milton Keynes Council. And at the time, he lived with me and our two boys. But in 2012, he moved out of the family home, and they said he would get more care under the adult social care, so he transferred over to that team. And at the time, he had about 20 hours support. The main thing to remember is Huntington's disease is a long-term progressive neurological condition. Mm. And so, it's a 15 to 20 years from diagnosis to end of life. So, that was quite a considerable amount of hours that he needed back in 2012 when he was assessed. So, yes.
And just to explain to our listeners, his condition, because it's really serious, isn't it?
It's probably the worst neurological condition you can have. It's a cross between Parkinson's, motor neurone, Alzheimer's, all rolled into one.
Wow. And the council's cut his care, which I know you fought on Roy's behalf on, but what impact did losing this care have on him?
Significant. He lost 2 stone in weight. He became very isolated, depressed, thinking lots about his condition, wasn't able to get out. When he was assessed as needing 2 people to go out in the community, he had 6 hours support at the time. Mm-hmm. And in order to support that need, they wanted to reduce his hours and cut them in half to 3 hours support, just so that he could have 2 people.
So what explanation did the council give you for slashing the hours of his care?
That they only pay for personal care. In 2016, he was assessed by a qualified social worker, and she said the council no longer fund shopping and cleaning. And she'd evidenced that to me at 4 hours. And I didn't pay too much attention. I didn't know Care Act at the time. And in 2017, an unqualified social worker came round and said the council no longer fund meal preparation as well. So they cut his hours from 35 hours to 23 and a half. But not only that, whereas he used to be able to get out on his mobility scooter on his own, he was no longer able to do that safely. He had actually crashed his mobility scooter and ended up in a ditch. So they didn't see that as a new need either and didn't support that. So instead of 35 hours in 2016, he should have had his hours increased.
Well,
gradually over time.
That's the thing, isn't it? So, especially with this condition, as it worsens, if anything, you need more hours. You don't need less hours.
Yes, exactly. And someone with Huntington's disease, Roy needed 5,000 calories to maintain weight. So when he lost, over the 2-year period, he lost over 2 stone in weight, partly because the care agency would go in, but he only had personal care written in his care plan. So we were using that time to try and get the calories into Roy. Mm. I mean, 5,000 calories is incredibly difficult to try and put on. So, and then
it just sounds emotionally draining, very stressful. Thankfully, the council has not only reversed its decision but also reviewing hundreds of other cases now. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good that everybody, because I know there were hundreds of complaints. Every time I used to call different departments at the council and try and complain, they'd tell me hundreds of people were complaining. But one of the actions that the Ombudsman has asked the council, apart from reviewing its policies and its care packages, it also says specifically the council should reimburse any service users whose eligible needs were not met in alternative ways. So I believe there's about 120 people that have had their packages increased. What those people won't know is that they can actually go back to the council and say, when I had my care cut, say, in 2016, I had to pay out for all of these things, and I would like my money back, please.
So it's almost like a little bit of a back payment kind of situation going on there. So if you don't mind me asking, just by talking to you and hearing your voice, it sounds like you were on the edge, emotionally, with all of this, all going off.
I am. Our two boys, it's a hereditary, 50-50 hereditary condition. And we've got two boys who can't be diagnosed until they're 18. But I'm always worried about them. And so I needed to do this because I never want to have to go through this battle again if they ever need help.
Yeah. Having seen, the care that Roy got and what he went through and what's happened, are you worried for them?
I obviously worry about them. It's the most horrific condition going. It's you don't die of Huntington's disease. You die of other causes, i.e. suicide, choking, aspirate pneumonia. They're the most common causes of death. So, there will come a time where Roy, something will happen to Roy. But, and obviously when I used to see him, which, I'm trying to work, trying to support my two boys, and he's trying to live independently. Whenever I went round there, I would literally be in tears as I'd leave the house. It was very, very stressful.
Like I said, thankfully the council have reversed its decision on Roy's case, but they were supposed to pay both you and Roy and apologise. Has that happened yet?
They haven't apologised. They're supposed to do a written apology to myself, to Roy, and to his carer at the time through direct payments. That hasn't happened. They have only recently, this report was 26th of June, they've only recently paid compensation, but they were aware his PA was working additional hours to try and support Roy. But I said to the council, she's only, £200 doesn't cover those extra hours. She was 4 hours a week extra that she was doing, and that should be backdated to 2016. We weren't aware of Care Act. I had to learn it inside out. And the council has said, well, that's what the Ombudsman has, recommended. And I said, it's a recommendation. It's just a suggestion. You can pay more. And they're refusing to pay more than £200 to the PA.
Sarah, I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining us on the show as well. And at least your battle that you've had to take on here has made it better for others as well. Maybe take some small comfort from that.
Yes, exactly.
Sarah, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us. We do have a statement from the council. What does it say, please, Ben?
We do indeed. It says, we have apologised for this mistake and are sorry to have got it wrong. MK Council respects the findings of the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman, and we have proactively followed the recommendations. We provide care and support for people with eligible needs and review people's needs at least once per year, usually more often. Since April, our physical disability and older people's review teams have completed 734 reviews of service users. 127 review cases have resulted in a change to the level of support we provide. In the vast majority of these cases, we have increased the support we offer.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. This is BBC Three Counties Radio, Friday, the 18th of October. It's just gone 7:45. Let's have some travel and weather, shall we? BBC